Greetings and salutations everyone, I'm Ekmek, this is Let's Play Oxygen Not Included. In the last episode we finished research, we've made it up to smart storage, which means that we can now actually make mechatronics. Given that we actually made sure to give Hassan mechatronics at the start of the game, even though he's eating an extra 500 kilocalories per cycle, that must be pretty important, so we actually want to get assigned on getting to solid transport, the other half of the important research. And I guess Ashken is just going to go do whatever caught their eye before they move on with life. But yeah, the game is getting a little bit slow at this point, so we might need to play on a permanent higher speed. But it makes me nervous. What I could do is just dig up a few areas here and there to see what's inside. Unfortunately, most of them are going to be seeds, but if we ever get a bit of muckroot or another hatch, that's going to be an excellent addition. Muckroot. Seed. Sorry, Ren! Oh dear, that muckroot should be put away ASAP, Gene. Don't leave it on the floor where the hatches can eat it. Even though I'm pretty sure this hatch is very content because of all the sandstone we left on the floor. Alright, it's the time of day where Hassan goes on break, and actually we've had such a long time problem with people oversleeping into the next shift. I usually leave them on 2 downtime shifts at the start, but we've reached the point where we need 3 nighttime shifts. We need 3 break time shifts because look, it's his bedtime, but he's still eating. Also, I've set this to yellow alert because it's lost the room bonus. If you set something to be level 9, then they're just going to really want to do it if that's their job. If you set something to a top priority, override all other priorities and set the colony on yellow alert until the errand is completed. So that is just a get this done now, people. And if things get really bad, you can start red alert, where they start ignoring the schedule and their basic needs, like sleep. I can't think of anything that needs a red alert when yellow alert works fine for everything else. But I guess occasionally it could happen. Like if you have an especially bad starting area where the water and the toilets just aren't in the right place. But it would take an especially bad setup. I guess it could also be if you're coming close to finishing a project for giving a sustainable basic need like oxygen, but your oxygen is also almost depleted and you just need them to work extra shifts, but I feel like yellow alert also has a tendency to override their break times, so you want to make sure that you don't just set everything to yellow alert. Let's put it that way. Yeah, this is a problem. Ooh, new research. Internal combustion, something we're not going to use for a long time because we have an achievement holding us back on it. I'm hoping that this guy doesn't actually get into our stables yet because we don't have a sustainable way to feed any shine bugs. Eventually we're going to have to set up some sort of Shinebark Ranch because that is an achievement. You have to tame every type of animal. But we don't want to get started on that too soon because then he'd starve to death. I don't feel bad about that. We're setting these to be disabled, and then level 9. It should, well, once Ashkin comes off his break, it should have Ashkin jump in. The downside is everybody's taking Muckroot for dinner. Although I guess that's not the worst thing in the world. So we might as well start building this little project. A little temporary kitchen. Because at the moment we have meal lice. It's not too bad, but we can make it a little bit better. Yeah, it feels so surreal for me to play at 2 times speed, so I'm just looking at them just to get them off the system. So we have 1000 grams of coal per second for 600 power. We have 12,000 grams per second of lumber for 300 watts of power. And yet this one produces way more carbon dioxide than this one, so I can understand why people normally say that they don't even bother going for the lumber generators. We've almost got the printing pod for another person. And that person is... Okay, Mouth Breather. This is definitely not one we want to get because it increases the amount of oxygen they take in for no proper benefit. And already we're going to be kind of scrimping low on oxygen. Loud Sleeper. In space everyone can hear you snore. If someone sleeps next to someone with Loud Sleeper, then they have a poor night's sleep. Although I think the Loud Sleeper is actually immune. I think even Loud Sleepers aren't immune to each other. Honestly, this one is probably one of the safest traits in the game, since you can simply assign their schedules properly, just a little bit of management and it does absolutely nothing. Also, the more comfortable beds are so big that they can't be placed within snoring range. The problem is that they don't have any sort of positive traits that I particularly want at this point, or interests. And over here, Nisbet. You have better food morale. This duplicate could lick and puff its backside and taste nothing. They get 1 extra point of food morale for some reason. But they have irritable bowel and building impaired. And none of their interests matter to me that much either. Or do they? I feel like Nisbet might be a good pick just to be an odd jobs girl, or guy. No, it's a girl. This Nisbet likes to punch people to show her affection. Everyone's too afraid of her to tell her it hurts. But I sort of want to go for the extra Muckroot, but the sooner we get the more people we have, the more food is consumed, which is both bad and good. Because the more food is consumed, the sooner we get our Locavore achievement and the sooner we can swap over to proper foods. Nisbet can start being an artist because Nisbet's job is going to be basically the new odd jobs girl. Jean is being taken off that and put on cooking with a minor in operating. We don't have anything to cook with yet, but we're working on it. The thing is, art jobs are just so low occurrence that actually, not that we have any, I only ever let absolute master artists, so that's full tiers in my artistry, take on decorating jobs. But once I do, I give them top priority. So, until then, Nisbet can just be odd jobs to help you transport things around. Like delivering algae to the algae generator. We should probably fill in this blank as well. Actually, wait. Oh dear! This room is actually going to overlap onto this area here, which means that it's going to be slightly too small for a full 8 rat hatches. But then again, I never run my hatch ranches at full power, so it probably won't be too bad, and if it is, I can just dig out extra chunks down here. This little balm lily spot here might be a bit of a problem. It just feels too minor to be worth building a setup for clearing out the chlorine, so I might just take it as is. Now this is a thing we are going to have a look at. I want to try and get at all of the Pakus while digging up as little slime as possible. There's a reason for this. Pakus are good meat, at least for the early game. They aren't good for ranching, but in the wild, they still produce a Paku fillet every 25 cycles, and they do count as meat. So back to 2 times speed. The trick is to not dig up any slime lung before you're ready for it. And unfortunately there's this lump of slime here in just the right place that we can't dig out a tunnel for our duplicates to get at. So that's going to be a little side project over there. Well, over here we dig straight down. We actually get a little bit of sedimentary rock, which is going to be useful later on for hatches. Dig down here. And then dig like this to reach this Paku. How to get at this one though? It's just a little bit of a puzzle really. You need to figure out if polluted water gets on top of the slime, that keeps it from getting the slime lung into the oxygen, which is good. Although the catch is that Pakus do actually eat a lot of they eat a lot of algae, 140 kilograms per cycle, so if any algae gets into the water, then you aren't going to be able to use that algae for powering the oxygen generator and producing that very needed oxygen. But they also now eat seeds, and the thing is, part seeds aren't good for anything. Oh, we seem to have excavated this little hatch here, starting ranch nice and well. I have to know, how close are we to getting... Okay, Jean will be the first to learn a new skill. After that... It'll be still a few days before we get our hands on an actual rancher, so it's okay to delay there a bit. This is the problem that we have with it. So these Sweetles are cramped. They can't produce new eggs because there's already an egg that would take them over their size limit. If this wasn't an egg, then they'd be fine to keep making new eggs, but being cramped actually prevents them from increasing their reproduction rate, so it's kind of bad that these Sweetles are trapped like this. Unfortunately, we don't have anyone who can dig up this abyssalite to free them. These Sweetles are fine, but there's those plants over there we want to get at, because it'd be worth food. And it's important that you make these little ladders to get at the grub fruit, because if a Sweetle can reach a grub fruit, or rather, they can reach a spindly grub fruit plant, they actually increase the yield of the plant, so it's worth more food. In the wild, that's a very nice little bonus to your food income, so it is good to leave nature to its own devices in these ways. And yeah, you can see that we've lost the plant because the oxalite it was buried in fully depleted. I guess bristle blossoms are a way to keep us occupied while we wait for interesting things to happen, like new research. So, heavy watt 5, joint plate, and a new type of generator. Hydrogen generator. Convert hydrogen into electrical power. We have no sustainable hydrogen yet, but this is going to be very important later on. Heavy watt wire and heavy watt joint plate though. Carry more wattage than regular wire without overloading. Cannot be run through wall and floor tiles, so this can handle 20 kilowatts as opposed to the 1000 watts of this. It's not that you can't have more than a wire can handle on a cable and it immediately breaks. It's that if more demand is required than the watt can handle, that's when the cables start to break. The heavier watt cables are better for some purposes in that it has higher power capacity. The downside is the decor. Negative 25 in 6 tiles is actually devastating to decor, and decor is what manages your duplicant morale. If they work in disgusting environments, then they won't be happy. They also need oxygen in their environments, so excuse me while I prioritize making an oxygen generator near this little laboratory. And building a carbon sink to get rid of the carbon dioxide. But yes, so the idea is that you have these concealed corridors where you run all the heavy watt wire, and then you use power transformers to get the power from the heavy watt wire into your local wiring. And because it has a limit of 1000 watts, it means that it's not going to it won't be able to overload these common wires. Yeah, oxygen isn't in the best position at the moment. And come to think of it, we need to do something about this lice loaf, so this costs water. This costs a lot of water. But it gives an extra 500 kilocalories per for every 2... So, It takes 2 meals of meal lice to make it. But in exchange, you get an extra 500 kilocalories of a lice loaf. So it is worth it. It's almost turning 2 into 3. And we need that sort of long-term sustainability. So nobody's allowed to eat male lice anymore. It all has to be cooked into lice loaf before they're allowed to eat it. In fact, I think I'll just set this to loop forever. And Jean should be going straight to set that straight. And yeah, building too close to this oxygen generator may have been a mistake. Yeah, we got really unlucky with the placement of these 2 lakes. Because it's just impossible for us to dig down and create lots of space for the carbon dioxide to get to. And then this oxalite here is actually forcing oxygen out this way. So it rots very quickly. We need to cook it into a lice loaf to reset the rot time. And turn off this oxygen diffuser because it is ruining everything. I guess one handy thing from this slime biome, dust caps. They're a type of mushroom. They consume slime if you try to grow them domestically. They can only exist in carbon dioxide, but they do produce food. And it is food that you can cook to make even better. In fact, we might as well install an electric grill right about now. So that when we start getting things that we can grill, Meep or Jean can do his job. Since we now have polluted water here, we can dig up this slime. And that'll give us access to this area. So when this Pacu dies of old age, or should we choose to kill him so we can get his meat early, that's 1,000 kilocalories of food, so it's not the greatest. And even if we cook that, it's only just a little bit more. But we need every bit of meat that we can get if we want that carnivore achievement. Because look at this. We got an achievement for exploring the other episode, but we're 90 cycles in and we have absolutely no progress. Because it's not enough to have 400,000 kilocalories of meat, or 400 meal times worth of meat. You also have to eat it. And often I end up getting to the point of, okay, I have enough meat in production, but there's just not enough people left to eat it to reach the milestone in time. So it's a delicate balance. And a very painful achievement. I wish they would change it. Oh, Okay, so that's unfortunate. This sleet wheat grain, it appears that it got flooded out and died. Because usually they drop in packs of 18. This one dropped just 1, so clearly it needs to be... So clearly something happened that it didn't like. The problem with these cold biomes now is that because we have a cool slush geyser here, it's constantly producing water that causes the polluted ice to melt, and polluted ice makes up, and brine ice makes up a very large amount of these biomes. So even if what's under the sleet wheat doesn't drown, what's above it could melt and drown. Or rather, if what's below it melts and causes it to deforest, there's always a chance that the polluted water is going to fall on top of it. And the catch-22 to this is that there is an achievement related to plant life farming. So we need to make sure at least one of these survive till cycle 1000. I wish I was joking, but no, I do have to start thinking in terms of cycle 1000. I want to turn off muckroot consumption because I want to go them for the lice loaf instead. And they're just going straight to this ration box here to get fed. Because the lice loaf can rot, that's what I need them to eat. They can save the non-perishables for later. We have access to this Paku. And we can dig this up. Then this, and then just wait. Check to see if there's enough polluted water that we can extract this slime lung. The shifts are long. The problem is that Jean shares with Nisbat, so if one of the toilets is occupied, then he has to wait his turn. This is going to be a small-term hospital for everybody. And then above that, I think that's where I'm going to build an entirely new type of research center because it's a very finicky design. I don't like it. As you can see, work here has ground to a halt because we can't dig up abyssalite. Oh, there's a hatch here. But yeah. We're going to be curbed until Hassan gets another skill point. What we can do is continue to dig through here. Polluted water. Unfortunately, it's slowly emitting polluted oxygen, which has food poisoning in it, because that's where this bottle came from. We eventually filled up the bar on the right with polluted water with all the hand washings that they did, and that caused the bottle to be discharged. In other game, if we were playing on base, then I would actually aim to get a recycling center for the water up running as soon as possible. But unfortunately, because this is spaced out and we have no shovels, I have to go for hatch ranches first. Okay, is there anyone interesting here? You cannot do building errands. You cannot do doctoring errands. You cannot research or attack. We're having to stick with 5 duplicants for quite some time because here's the problem. If someone is unconstructive, then they can't supply for building errands and they can't dig for building errands either. But you also have nyctophobic and I don't feel like throwing off the mess hole just for you. Yokel is bad because research affects, if you can't do researching errands, then you also can't increase the speed that you learn things at, because that's what researching has an advantage for. Even if you've learned everything already, you can use researching errands to... The researching skills will increase the speed that you learn new skills at. Doctoring I don't mind so much about, but I don't feel like I need another digger. And I don't need someone picky for interior decorator. I don't know exactly what I'm saving up for, I just don't have it yet. And then we're already running dangerously low on food. So slight problem is that the slime lung is getting slightly carried all over the place. But it's okay, there are two types of diseases. So the food poisoning disease can only be transmitted if someone ate something while they're still covered in disease. Or if they eat something covered in food poisoning. In the air, it doesn't actually hurt anyone. Slime lung is the reverse. If it's on something, then it doesn't hurt them. It's when it gets into the air and gets inhaled, that's when the problem starts. And a small amount of slime lung picked up when people go to fill things in, to fill up this oxygen diffuser, should die out quickly because slime lung dies very quickly when it's in oxygen. It's when it gets into polluted oxygen you've got problems, because that also speeds up the rate that they inhale at. So we've capped out here. I want to get at this over here for my hatch ranch. The problem is, it takes applied sciences research, and it takes data analysis research. We can't do either of those yet, and there are still other steps that we need to take along the way. Which means that I think, actually, I want to go into ventilation. I want to get my hands on a mechanized airlock for this hatch ranch. But what we do have is new skills. So Jean can become a grilling 2. It doesn't give them any new skills, it just slightly increases their stats. But a slight increase is better than nothing. It also gave us an achievement, but I don't care. So we have access to these Paku, and to these Paku. I think that leaves us good on food for a little bit. Although we'll be a lot better once we dig up this area and can get at these sweetles so they can breed properly again. Alright. So, shipping. We just unlocked all of this. The auto sweeper, we plug it into a place and power it. If there is items on the floor that can be put in a box, they'll put it in the box. There's an achievement tied to them outperforming duplicates for quite a few cycles. The conveyor loader takes power, but it counts as a box that will automatically transport items onto the conveyor network. It will travel across conveyor rails and conveyor bridges until it reaches a conveyor chute and then it arrives back in the real world. You're going to want to build a lot of networks to save on time for carrying items around from one place to another. The problem is, this takes refined metal. We never actually got around to setting up any metal refinement, so might as well do that right now. Actually, that's probably who I want to make my 6th duplicate. Just someone dedicated to, okay, go here and just keep all of the batteries charged, and when they don't need any battery charges, they go run the rock crusher for metal. There's a more efficient way to get your refined metal than this, but it requires long time breeding hatches, and we still haven't gotten our hatch ranch up and running yet. And actually, wait. Yeah, you don't actually cancel out a stable by installing industrial equipment like you do with other things. So it's entirely fair for us to use the extra space in the hatch ranch for setting up rock crushers or metal refineries or whatever you want. New skill, Ashken can now field research. And Ashken gets a nicer hat too. Field research is kind of important, but it's the material researcher that we want to get in the long run. Basically, the geology field research, it lets you mark things like this natural gas geyser or this teleporter. They can work on they can either activate teleporters or they can analyze geysers, so you can figure out exactly when a geyser is and isn't active. And what do I mean by that? Well, at the moment they have idle or active, but eventually they swap to dormancy, which is a long term where they just aren't producing anything. It's very handy to know exactly when their dormancy periods are, and to do that you have to analyze them by field researchers. And yeah, we can see Ashken is working on getting this teleporter up and running. Not that anyone could fit in it. This is for materials only. And of course there's a slight little downside to it in that we also have to activate it on the other end. So somewhere out here there's a way to teleport over to our oily swamp sister. We just haven't built far enough to find it. And oh, so this area actually isn't blocked off. At the very top here, what looks like an ordinary ice biome is turning into a super frigid biome. So this actually reaches the very top of our asteroid, where it goes so cold that the carbon dioxide turns into a liquid. And apparently we need to turn muckroot consumption back on and start harvesting here. And I think we need to move Nisbet's chair over by one. Yeah, just build this little blockade because I really don't want these shine bugs coming down to our bedroom. You remember how I said loud sleeper and bright lights will keep duplicates from getting a good night's sleep? Shine bugs produce light. It can get very annoying if they get down into your sleeping rooms. Speaking of getting down into the sleeping rooms, we need to block this guy off as well. So yeah, Hassan suddenly got their work cut out for them. So we have fried mushroom at 400 kilocalories. We have the roast grub fruit nut, 800 kilocalories. We can pickle meal, so we produce exactly the same amount of pickled meal. It's still just as distasteful, but it has one advantage in that any food poisoning on meal lice will immediately die because okay, well first of all, any food that goes through the electric grill comes out super hot. which kills off most of the food poisoning on it. Pickled meal, however, is guaranteed to kill all the food poisoning on it. If other foods are cooled off too quickly, then they actually maintain a little bit of the food poisoning on it. Pickled meal, however, is considered to be a sterile food source. Actually, maybe it'll say it if I look at the... disinfected by being pickled. So yeah, if you think that you've got meal ice that's been contaminated, then just switch over to pickled meal, and that not only kills off the food poisoning, it also gives it a longer shelf life. And then we have Frostbun, the only way to make sleet wheat grain edible, or at least they can't eat sleet wheat grain. They can eat it with other things, but this is So, 3 units. They produce 6 units per harvest, or rather they produce 18 units per harvest, so that's 6 good meals out of it. 1,200 kilocalories. Alternatively, if you have Bristleberry, you can use 5 units of sleet wheat grain and 1 bristleberry to create berry sludge. Not only is 4,000 kilocalories 4 good meals in a row, this food doesn't rot. And unfortunately, even if I could make that somehow, I wouldn't want to because I want to save it for space travel. It's a lot harder to build carbon sinks in space. Oh hey, it's another hatch. Oh no, don't tell me you ate some of the muckroot. Okay, no. Okay, I think you ate some dirt or some sand. So, none of the shine bugs seem to be at risk of getting into our sleeping quarters, so we should be good to go back up to normal speed. Oh dear, we need to end the episode ASAP. Until next time guys, take care, I'll see you all around. We're going to do some work with this rock crusher, I think.